Chapter 1. Peter Breaks Through. All children grow up, except for one. They don't realize it at first, but sooner or later they understand it's going to happen. Wendy darling found out the day she turned 2. She was playing in the garden picking flowers, when she ran to her mother with her proud face shining with delight. Mrs. Darling clutched her heart and sighed. "Oh, why can't you stay like this forever?" Nothing more was said, but from that day Wendy knew she would grow up. 2 years old is the beginning of the end. The Darlings lived at number 14. Before Wendy came along, Mrs. Darling had been the centre of her husband's world. She was a beautiful woman, with a mind full of romantic thoughts, like a set of tiny secret boxes from far-off lands, each hiding another inside. And in the corner of her smile there was always a single kiss, clear enough to see, but impossible for anyone, not even Wendy, to claim. Mr. Darling had won her heart in a clever way. When every other young man rushed to propose, he alone thought to take a cab, arriving before the rest and well prepared for any event. When Wendy was born, Mr. Darling was bursting with pride, but also very practical. Another mouth to feed meant more expenses, and he liked to work things out properly, pencil in hand. He'd sit on the edge of the bed, carefully adding and subtracting their savings, while Mrs. Darling gazed at him with hopeful eyes. "Don't interrupt," he'd say, scribbling numbers. £1.17 here, 2 and 6 at the office, cut coffee, that's another 10 shillings. By the time he'd listed mumps, measles, and whooping cough, the sums had changed 3 times, but in the end, Wendy stayed. John and Michael came later, and each just barely passed the budget. The Darlings couldn't afford an ordinary nurse, so they had Nana, a big, gentle Newfoundland dog. They met her in Kensington Gardens, where she often peered into prams to check on babies and scold careless nannies. She took her job seriously, tucking the children in, fetching sweaters, and even carrying an umbrella in her mouth in case of rain. At bath time, she was thorough. At night, she was always on watch. In her mind, a cough was either something to be scolded out of you, or a reason to wrap you in a scarf. She believed in rhubarb leaf and hot flannels, not in all this new talk about germs. The other nurses at Miss Folsom's school pretended to look down on her, but Nana didn't mind. She had no patience for gossip, only for keeping her children safe. Mrs. Darling liked things neat and proper. Mr. Darling liked to fit in with the neighbours. Together they ran the happiest little household, until Peter came along. Mrs. Darling first heard of him while tidying up her children's minds. Every night, after they were asleep, she would wander through their thoughts like a gardener, putting lovely memories on top and tucking away the less pleasant ones at the bottom. But one night, she kept coming across the name Peter. Wendy's mind was covered in it. John and Michael's had it scattered about like puzzle pieces. When she asked Wendy, the little girl said matter-of-factly, "Oh, he's Peter Pan. He's about my age, wears leaves for clothes, and full of wonderful stories." Mr. Darling laughed it off. "Nonsense from Nana," he said, but the name wouldn't go away. Then, one morning, Mrs. Darling found strange leaves on the nursery floor, leaves from no tree in England. Wendy calmly explained that Peter sometimes came in the night to sit on her bed and play his pipes. She didn't know how she knew, she just knew. That night, Nana was off duty, and Mrs. Darling stayed with the children until they drifted to sleep. She dozed by the fire and dreamed. She dreamt the Neverland had drifted close, and a strange boy had slipped through. He looked familiar, like a part of her own heart she'd never been able to reach. But it wasn't just a dream. The nursery window blew open. A boy dropped lightly onto the floor, followed by a tiny darting light, no bigger than your fist. Mrs. Darling woke with a start. She knew instantly who he was. Peter Pan. He was a beautiful boy, dressed in clothes made from leaves and sap, and the most wonderful thing about him was that he still had all his first teeth. When he saw she was a grown-up, he gritted them at her in defiance. And so began the extraordinary adventures of Wendy, John, and Michael Darling, the night Peter Pan broke through. That was chapter 1 of my Peter Pan novel series. Join me next week as I read through our next chapter. Thank you for listening. Turn the page. Another story awaits.